Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast. Today, we're joined by Fred Clayton, CISO at Akumin. Fred, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. Before we get too far in, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by cyberlynx.com. That's cyberlynx.com. Do you know if a hacker's in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way of knowing when someone's gotten past their security. That's where Cyberlynx comes in. We've partnered with the best cybersecurity companies in the world to be able to provide our clients with the best solutions at the best prices. So whether it's managed SIM, SOC, EDR, MDR, XDR, you name it, we'll help you find the right solution at the right price. Find out more at cyberlynx.com. That's cyberlynx.com. And now back to our show. Fred, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us about Akumin and your role there as CISO?
Sure. So Akumin is actually the second largest radiology service provider in the U.S. When I was doing my research to come over here, I said, oh, this is nice. Two, we can get to be number one in 47 states. You know, we do a lot of good work with mobile units, oncology, and then fixed site as well. So we have clinics as well all across the United States. So, wow. And my role here is it's evolving already. You know, sometimes you walk in the door and you say, "Oh, I got one hat," but you kind of look around and you go, "Well, I can help out here or there." But primary is over the risk management and cybersecurity program here at the organization, and so far so good.
That's fantastic. Well, I know you're new to the role, but I know it's always exciting when you get to a new place, kind of figure it out. And I'm curious. So I really love getting into people's, I like to call them origin stories, right? That, how you got into tech, what inspired you, and then kind of how you went from getting into tech, all the way to you've made it to the top. So I think it's always great to tell these stories to help share with others. So could you?
I like sharing my story as well. I'm from Texas, and if I say y'all, it's just the Texas in me. I'm from the Dallas area, but back in the early '90s, it was a choice. I said, hey, you could go off to college, or you could go see the world. So I joined the Army to go see the world, and I took on a tech role. It was back when you had mainframes and you coded, you had punch card readers. So this is like way back. And I can remember just going through that training. I said, this is really neat. I really enjoy this. And if people know the military life, you get to an assignment and you think, wait, I'm going to go do this great tech role. And they're like, yeah, but you're going to go do this first. So I spent the first couple of years with an engineer unit and did zero tech work at all. So I moved to the next one, and then I go to a highly technical role. And they said, well, do this. And I said, I don't know how to do it. They're like, but you're a tech person. You should know how to do this. So I had to basically get retrained. And I was in Europe. So I started to say, well, this is really what I came in to do. And I just immersed myself into it. So I started networking, did systems, and then I became a people leader, and started running teams or running operations. And then around, fast forward several years, I got to the point to where it's like 2008-ish, and then become cyber for the Army. So if you think about when U.S. cyber kind of stood up and all the services stood up, I was part of one of those first groups that kind of said, hey, how are we going to do this for the Army? And it was a really great experience to be able to come in and build something. So I think for me, I naturally tend to be a people leader, team build, program builder. So it kind of aligned with all those other years of doing all the technical stuff, the networking, the systems, the firewalls. I was like, wow, I get to this point here, then was able to move into different parts of cyber, work with maybe some intelligence groups, or go work with some OCL, offensive cyber, defensive cyber, doing threat intelligence, do threat analysis, looking at the bad people. That was like, wow, this is really, really good. So some people say, well, why did you leave? Your body gets old. 25 years, your body says, hey, it's time to do something different. So I transitioned out. And then I realized quickly I could go two ways. One would be, NSA, alphabet place, go work there, or go do something totally different. And I said, let's go do something totally different. So I went to the straight private sector. There's a guy who interviewed me. He was actually the CISO, and he interviewed me, and I was in Italy on a Zoom call, and he hired me. He goes, whatever it is about you, Fred, you have it. And no in-person interview, no second, third interview. I got through the interview, and he gave me a job offer, and I moved and started out, and then quickly they said, hey, you need to be in a leadership role, people leader. You have technical chops. You went there. And then I left it was in the financial services, so high stress, just like the military, they're looking at money and transactions. And then I went to healthcare for some reason. Everyone told me, why go to healthcare? So I went to healthcare, and I just grew to a vice president role at that organization with great leaders, was able to build teams, build a program. And then I left from there, and I came here as a CISO. And I tell people my story. I said, I went from, Army life, and 5 years later, I'm a CISO. And most people are like, wow, how did you do that? Well, the 25 years kind of paved the way for me because it gave me the technical chops, leadership, the organizational skills, decision-making process, critical thinking skills that are needed. And that's how I got here. Then someone just trusts, they have to trust you to be, hey, you're in charge of our security program, keep us safe.
Yeah.
So that's my journey, and however long it took me to spill that out. But yeah, that's me.
That's awesome. So let me ask you, did you find it, I know that a lot of people find it kind of scary, that transition from kind of the military life to civilian life. How was that for you?
It was very scary. You hit it. It was scary because it's something totally different. How do skills translate? Like, yourself in your comfort zone, your abilities, and people around you know your abilities. Sometimes they know about your rank, but sometimes they just know about the environment you're in. They trust you. It was very difficult at the beginning. I walk in the door, and they're like, what do you know how to do? And then you have to show them. But once they see it, it's like, okay, you're fast. You went to the fast lane because they understand at that point. Those intangibles that you get is top notch. I think that's why a lot of times businesses look for ex-military people to come lead things because they have those intangibles at times as well.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think, for me, it was kind of the Army was a way out of a way out of poverty and a way into, a better life. For me, it was the way out, and it was fantastic. Wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I would have traded it back then for more money, but it got me to more money. It gave me the opportunity to, kind of get out, get an education, get experience, get leadership, get some, personal discipline, all kinds of things, and then really kind of get my, have the skills and abilities to make my way in the world in whichever fashion I chose. And I think for a lot of people, the military is just a fantastic, opportunity. It's not for everybody, that's for sure.
No.
And it is hard on the body. Like
Yes.
I was fortunate to get out after 10 years, and a lot of my airborne buddies, because I was an intel guy and airborne, and it takes its toll on the body.
Yes.
A lot of beat up knees, a lot of beat up backs.
Yeah.
And but you made it 25 years. That is a good haul, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I've got some bumps and bruises and some aches, and some mornings you wake up, you go, oh my, why did I go do that stuff? But at the end of the day, it really was enjoyable. I enlisted initially just to travel. I just wanted to go travel. But I got to see the world, and I will say that, that was just awesome. So it all worked out at the end.
that's really funny. So my wife was she was in the Navy for 17 years as an anesthesiologist. She
Wow.
wanted to see the world. She was born in Bethesda, Maryland, wanted to see the world, joined the Navy, as they say, to see the world.
Yeah.
You'll never guess where they stationed her for 17 years. Bethesda.
Virginia. Oh,
No,
Bethesda.
Bethesda Naval. He stayed there for 17 years,
Oh, wow.
except for one deployment to Afghanistan. But that's not really the kind of traveling in the world that,
Yeah.
that you want in the Navy.
No, no.
But yeah,
I spent most of my time actually in the European theater. So
always wanted to.
I was fortunate in that aspect. A couple of trips to the not so fun places, but
It's a sandbox, right?
yeah, but otherwise, Europe is a great place to be if you're in the military for sure. The traveling, so it hit the ass for me, the travel piece.
That was where I originally wanted. Unfortunately, I learned I got Spanish. I was a Spanish interrogator when I signed up, and then I went back for Mandarin Chinese, and they sent me to Japan. Now I'm not saying the army's racist, but I don't think they know that Japan they don't speak Chinese in Japan.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I know that. I'm pretty sure they
yeah,
know.
they want you to listen to conversations. That's all they want you to do.
That's it. So but yeah, so that was fun. But I always wanted Europe. So which stations, where in Europe were you?
Germany and Italy. Italy for 8 years or so, and Germany for the standard 3 years. So, but if I were to show you my stars of all the places I've been, you're like,
Oh,
well, you've probably hit everything over there. I tried to go all the way north as far as I could, and all the way down to south as far as I could, just to go see and eat and sample wine and just enjoy it. When you're not working, you take the time and you really enjoy it.
yeah.
So
No, that's fantastic. That's the army life that I had
yeah,
envisioned. Actually, that's not true. What I really envisioned originally was I wanted to be an airborne ranger more than anything. Because I was reading these books about rangers in Vietnam, and I was like, I want to be an airborne ranger. And I go and I take the ASVAB test, and then they go to the MEP station, and I take the D lab, and I go there July. It was July 1st. Which apparently that is when all the enlisted jobs open up for the year. So July 1st, I know they got them all. So I've done
yeah,
my homework, and now I'm a junior I'm in between my junior and senior year in high school. And I had plenty of time to do in fact, I called up the recruiter when I was 15. I was like, I know what I want to do. I want to join the army. And they're like, how old are you? Yeah, that's great, son. How old are you? I'm like 15. They're like, they hang up the
yeah,
phone. They're like, call us back when you're legal.
yeah.
So, but I showed up and I took the test, and they're like, yeah, no, you're not going to get airborne ranger. I'm like, but it's July 1st. I know you have all the jobs. I can be an
Mhm.
airborne ranger. They're like, you can't, we can put 100 people, we can put thousands of people into airborne ranger, but you're going to be intel. I was like, but I don't want to be intel. And
Yeah,
needless to say, I lost that argument. It was an
yeah,
argument that went on for 2 days. I lost. And but I'm kind of happy, still never got the ranger tab before I got
mhm.
out. So I was a little sad about that. But I did get airborne though. So
Yeah,
it's compromise. If
yeah.
everybody leaves,
Compromise.
that's
Some
right.
wins.
That's right. And nobody leaves happy. That's a good compromise, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, so let's fast forward from the military, which a great time. And then you get out into the civilian world. Now, do you still do stuff with the civilian, on like with the military on the civilian side, or any sort of organizations?
I do participate in some veteran mentorship groups. I try my very best to reach out. I mean, I still have connections back to those cohorts, whether the cyber, signal, or intelligence back in for the main, the Army. But there's a veteran mentorship group I work with on LinkedIn, so that's the place that I really network and try to help people out, because that transition is scary. Like I said earlier, coming, retiring or just transition out, whether you're going to retire or just you did your 4 years, 8 years, whatever, to go do a different skill in a different environment, it's nerve wracking. And say if you have a family or you have children, you have responsibility, you're used to that certain, I don't say comfort level, in the military life, but there's certain things about it that you just know that are there. So I just try to make sure, hey, resume building, interview. You want to mock interview? I'll mock interview you. Just let me know. Let's pick a time and date, and let's do a Zoom call, and let's do it. And if I know of roles, I've been out 6 years, 5 years now, 6 years now. So the people who I know, I'll say, hey, I know this person. I'm vouching for them. They're a vet. If you're a vet and you're okay, I'm going to vouch for you. And I do a lot of that as well. So I try to give my time that way to at least the veteran groups. And then my daughter is a STEM major, so I highly support women in tech groups, women in STEM groups. So I volunteer time in those groups as well. She's the University of North Texas. Go Eagles! I just try to make sure that, hey, I'm a resource for them, even though I'm not a woman, but I support them. You support them by giving your time, your advice, whatever you can back to those groups as well. So I just try to get back in those manners in those groups.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to hook up with you on the veterans groups and the the women in tech, because I think both of those are fantastic causes
They are.
and can use as much support as possible.
Absolutely.
I think certainly it is a difficult transition for a lot of people, from the military life to civilian life. I mean, even just I can't tell you how many years. Well, let me ask you, do you still have dreams of not being in the right uniform or not having your headgear or anything
You
like
know,
that?
sometimes I do. So that is funny because I go, wait, where's my headgear? Or I find myself, if I'm walking with people, I'll start walking in step. I'm like, stop doing that. Just walk normal. Don't try to be in step with everyone. So uh, it's funny you say that, but yeah, sometimes I do. I do. I don't walk on the grass.
Right.
I don't walk on the grass. Walk on the sidewalk. This small things like that. I just catch myself still doing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's tough. I don't know how many years it was, but occasionally I'll still have that occasional dream where I wake up, where I'm in some situation outside and I don't have my headgear, or it was mostly that when I got out, I didn't have like my uniforms anymore, and I'd kind of gotten rid of everything in a move, that were like a box got lost in a move, and so I didn't have any of my uniforms, and I started having these dreams that I would show up to work and I would be out of uniform. I was like, I don't even
Yeah.
have the uniform, and then it's just a mess. Yeah, so it took years, and I don't know that that's PTSD. It's just it's so ingrained.
Oh, it's
You're
so
so
ingrained.
used to it. It's this thing, and then you get out in the real world, and or into the civilian world, I should say, and it's totally different. And it just that's just one little example of that, such a transition. Then you got people who need help getting into a career, getting a job. Not everybody gets that retirement pay when they get out, and they've got mouths to feed, so it's a real
Exactly.
challenge. So
It is.
no, yeah, I think that's great. So anything we can do to support, yeah, I'm all about it. So let's obviously we'll link to it in the show notes and everything, but yeah, offline I'd like to get together
Definitely.
and if you could introduce me, that'd be great.
Yep. Will do. For sure.
Fantastic. So let's ask you, when you did that transition, now you had some pretty good skills. Like for me, it was interrogator. Those don't really translate, directly to civilian life. You can't go out and start interrogating civilians. That apparently they frown upon that. Don't
Yes.
ask me how I know. Um, but on the cyber side, now were you doing you were doing specifically cybersecurity on the inside, so it translated pretty directly, right?
It it did. There's different tools, so that was part of it. I had a little bit of a learning curve where if the military used a certain tool or a certain process, it didn't always match 100% up in the private sector. So, but sometimes I tell people a firewall is a firewall, right? And intrusion detection it's the same. It's how you apply the critical thought to how to use the tool is what I was like, they knew, oh yes, it doesn't matter if it was a Cisco or Palo Alto or whatever. He understands what to look for. That threat intelligence piece. What are you looking for? This is the bad signature. This is the way they do the TTP. This is how here's an indicator. Now I'm talking jargon, so I apologize. But
No, please,
you
you're in the
know,
right place.
yeah. So this is where this is happening, and let's write a rule. Well, let's do this, or no, don't go screen. If the fire happens, if you panic, that's the worst thing to happen. So that's part of the military training. When you hear a round go off, you don't panic. It should be like, okay, a round went off. We know it's danger, but don't panic.
Yeah.
Same thing in the civilian world. If something bad happens, let's calm down, logically think, and then respond. It's that those skills that once they kind of saw that, they're like, okay, yeah, this guy, he knows it. He's that guy.
I think that's a really great point, because that whole thing of, once you've been been shot at, life changes a little bit, and it
That's,
helps put things in perspective. That, oh, you know what, bullets aren't flying, people aren't dying, and it makes it a lot easier not to panic. And then you learn, because if you've got your head about you when bullets are flying and people are dying, then when they're not, I found it, I still find it shocking to this day that people are losing their minds about over what, like,
yeah,
they're getting all stressed out, and they're being, for what? Like, nobody's dying. This is a problem that we can fix. And
fix.
even if they were dying, now's not the time to lose your head. In fact, when is it ever a time to lose your head? And
Yeah,
so I think that the Army was really great in that regard, because I don't know that anybody, like, I don't, thinking back, nobody loses their mind. They do such a good job of, like, prepping you for
yeah,
that nobody's freaking out when, when
no,
they, when shit goes down.
yeah.
And so
Because
it really
you
helps.
just train, you just do it over and over. That's one of the things that I took from military to my teams as well. I said, we're going to practice this. We're going to do it. Routine. Write a process. Why I got to write a process? Because this is going to help you remember when stuff happens. You don't have to go look at the process. You know it. You automatically just take a deep breath, hands on the keyboard, and you start to do your stuff. That's what you have to get to.
Well, now, as CISO, obviously, you've got to, build your team. What is it that you're looking for? So, in kind of new hires, kind of advice that you can give those, people coming into the field, or people who are already in the field. What kind of advice do you have for them?
So for the newbies, the ones who are maybe transitioning from a different career path to security, I tell them this to be a sponge. Just come in to be a sponge. Don't come in and think that I hired you to be a hacker. That's the other part too. Well, I have this great cert. I can be a hacker. I hired you to be a sponge to learn how to protect, because there's two different mentalities. You're intelligent, so you know this. You have people who are paid or told to do this and react this way, and people who should just defend, right? You just defend. I need you to defend. The best defenders are probably people who knew offensive capabilities anyway. So just come in and be a sponge. Just be a sponge. And then for the experienced people, I come in and I say, hey, I have high expectations for you. I level set very quickly within the first week or so. We're going to come in for about an hour, and then we're going to level set. Here's expectations, but you're a professional, you're seasoned, and here you go. So I still treat it more or less during my military time. If you come in, you have you're a leader here, and you come in with the leader underneath you. Go, hey, I need you to be my good captain. I need you to go here and go do this, and I'm going to let you go. If you need help, send the flare up. Come ask, because otherwise, as a CISO, I'm engaged in a lot of other stuff. I have to be with the compliance and with general counsel, I have to go do all these other things. But if I see the flare come up, I'm going to come over and help. So, those are the two approaches. And tell them still be a sponge. Just continue to learn. Don't ever stop learning in cybersecurity. You cannot stop learning. The threat changes all the time.
Could not agree more. I think that is excellent advice. Well, this has been an absolute blast, Fred. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and about Akumin?
About me, I try to hide. Security guys, we tend not to want to be found, but I am on LinkedIn. You just look my name up, Fred Clayton. I'm going to say Fred Clayton, but Fred Clayton on LinkedIn. If you shoot me a note, I will respond to you. That's the easiest way to find me. If you're a vet and you listen to this and you have questions, or if you just, I'm telling you, if you need someone just to bounce stuff off of, send me a message. I will respond back to you. Akumin is a Google. This is a quick Google. You can find about the company and kind of our history and what we do and the services we provide. And that's about it.
That's awesome. Well, Fred, thanks for your time. And until next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.